Hello friends, welcome to Ecoholics YouTube channel. My name is Avinash Agarwal, and in this video we will be discussing with you certain very important government schemes of Government of India. So this is an exercise we started about a month and a half ago, that every Saturday we dedicate about half an hour of our discussion time for discussing very important government schemes, because almost in every paper you will be asked a direct question on government scheme, or you will be asked a question in which you will have to cite government schemes as fodder material to be able to complete your answer. So whether it is the first problem of being able to answer question directly based on government schemes, or it is a second problem where you have to be able to cite government schemes, both these problems will not take care of themselves unless you take care of them, right? So our discussion agenda today is something that I would like to highlight first to you, right? This is a note that you can download from the Ecoholics app. You can download the app and download the note free. So the journey of UDAN. So this is UDAN scheme of Ministry of Civil Aviation, right? We'll be discussing a little bit about it, right? Not too much, a little bit, okay? Because the content is very broad based, so we'll not be going very deep into any scheme unless and until it is extremely important. This is another article that I would like to discuss again from PIB. So most of my content is coming from PIB on Saturday, as you can yourself see, right? So we'll be discussing India's economic prosperity, etc., from the purview of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. All right. Thereafter, we will be looking at rural youth lead India's digital transformation. Again, an article from the purview of Ministry of Communications, that how rural citizens are marching ahead when it comes to digital transformation towards digitalization. So we'll be looking at a lot of matrix. We'll be looking at what has changed in the last couple of years. What are the schemes which are relevant in this context? We'll be also discussing in some more detail India's ethanol push. So India has achieved 15% ethanol blending in 2024 finally, right? So this is an article coming from the stable of Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. This is a good article. इसको भी हम अच्छे से discuss करेंगे. After this, we will be looking at Adar. Again, I don't want to go into the very much details of this particular article, right? But apparently a Nobel laureate, Paul Romer, who is himself an eminent economist, if I'm not wrong, has appreciated Adar quite a bit. So we'll be having a relook at everything most important about Adar, right? Without going into granular details over here. As it is, the document is available with you, right? So it doesn't make any sense if I start splitting hair ends over here itself, right? And finally, this is a very important article, right? So actually the articles have gotten placed in increasing order of importance, in the sense that the starting article in my opinion is only okay important, and the latter articles are more important. Like for example, the space economy article in my opinion is extremely important, because it deserves a standalone question in the examination based on what's really happening on the space frontier so far as India is concerned, right? So let's start with our discussion. I have already given you a sense of what is going to come towards you in the next half an hour, 35 minutes, right? So let's start. So you can always try to quote Prime Minister Modi in your paper, right? So the idea is that we have this regional connectivity scheme, or UDAN, which is Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. So this is a scheme that was started in 2016 under the purview of Ministry of Civil Aviation. As the name suggests, the idea was that we wanted to make sure that unserved and underserved regions of India, who previously had no air connectivity, do get air connectivity, and common man like you and me, especially me, gets to travel by airlines, right? Gets to get that comfort, gets to get that experience, and so on and so forth, right? So we are at the 7th anniversary of this scheme, right? And Government of India is recommitting itself to building out the infrastructure, building out the connectivity, and connecting the remote regions of our country, right? So that's the basic idea that you need to keep in mind, right? So first UDAN flight, it took off in April 27, 2017, connecting the serene hills of Shimla to the bustling metropolis of Delhi. So I'm really glad that Shimla is very much on the map, right? Because if I'm traveling to Shimla, I don't want to do any other journey but flight, right? Because of paucity of time, because I'm a labor class, so I have to work. I don't get a lot of holidays. That's why, right? Apart from that, market-driven approach, right? In the sense that the airlines are also involved, right? They assess the demand on specific routes. They submit the proposals during the bidding rounds, right? So the idea over here is that the government steps in by providing a viability gap funding. That okay, the airlines would like to charge a bomb, but they can't do that. So airlines have to keep their costs within lid, within a bracket, and whatever is a shortfall in terms of they being economically viable, so that shortfall is completed by Government of India's concessions and contributions, as well as the state government's concessions and contributions, right? So several supportive measures have been taken, like for instance, airline operators. So they waive landing and parking charges, right? Airport Authority of India, it does not levy terminal navigation landing charges, right? There is a discounted route navigation facilitating charge which is applied. Central government, right? So for first 3 years, excise duty on aviation turbine fuel purchased at ARCS airport was capped at 2%, right? Apart from that, state governments committed to reducing VAT on ATF to 1% or less for 10 years. Essential services, security, fire, utility at reduced prices. So you can see whether it is state or central or the airport operator, everybody is pulling their weight in this particular scheme to be able to make it work. And this is always very helpful, provided that the burden of the entire beast is not lying only on one stakeholder, right? And it is well distributed amongst various stakeholders. It's a well designed scheme basically, right? And definitely your aviation industry is getting help. Locations are coming on the map which were previously not on the map, right? So there are regional carriers like for example Flybig, Star Air, India One Air, Fly 91. They have benefited from the scheme. Their business models have benefited from the scheme. They have been able to create jobs within themselves and be able to help these regions out as well, right? There is a rising demand for new aircrafts of all sizes, right? So whether it is Airbus 320, 321, 737, ATR 42 and so on and so forth. So there is a rising demand, right? Orders have been placed for 1,000 aircrafts. I don't want to mix the RCS aircrafts over here with the normal aircrafts, right? But let's let that be, right? There is last mile connectivity happening to tier 2 and tier 3 cities like never before. So definitely tourism, which is in itself a very labor intensive sector and a very local economy enriching sector. So tourism is also getting a massive boost over here, right? Like for instance, UDAN 3.0, and this is something which I have remarked on earlier as well, that this government is, they don't give up, they keep coming up with 1.0, 2.0, 2.1, 3.0. They don't give up, they are on that mission mode, and the kind of continuity that is there in India in the last 10 years and then going ahead next 5 years. I'm not making a political comment, but the kind of continuity that you have seen has really helped in, maturing a lot of these policy decisions, right? So yeah, we are also expanding helicopter services, by the way, in hilly area. So I have never been in a helicopter. I would really like to do that, right? Significant destinations, Khajuraho, Deoghar, Amritsar, Ajmer, they don't need to be names in your history textbooks alone. You can actually go there and, complete your syllabus over there, right? There is introduction of airports in Pasighat, in Zero, in Holongi, in Tezu, right, in the northeast, right? So that's also very helpful. We have been also able to enhance tourism in Lakshadweep, right? So this is what you need to be able to highlight. If you see the beauty of this particular paragraph over here, so this is all art and culture, this is all northeast, this is all our island, that is Lakshadweep, right? So these are the far-fetched areas that you should be able to mention. So you've gotten my point, right? So I don't really want to drill it deeper than this over here, right? So yeah, congratulations on becoming an Ude Desh ka Aam Nagrik, right? So yeah, this is it about this particular scheme. Moving to the next article. So we are apparently in an era of economic prosperity. Let us understand when and how this happened, right? So there is this annual India Leadership Summit apparently which was held. So this is not important, right? So John Chambers, chairman of US India Strategic Partnership Forum, remarked that by the end of this century, India will not only surpass China but will be 100% bigger in terms of GDP. Wow. I don't know what is the back of the envelope calculation which is informing this comment, but if this is true, then good, right? So the idea over here is that strong advancements is something that is on the annual, right? And transformative policies and reforms would be required to achieve this potential. This potential is not going to achieve itself. Let's not, let's not pander ourselves to sleep by saying that अरे वाह मतलब ये तो हमारा ही है, right? So the idea over here is that yeah, so again John Chambers remarks are being used over here, so you get where I'm going over here. India's GDP growth is being projected at around 7% for the current financial year, right? And we are on a decent trajectory, we are on a decent clip, right? And these are all thanks to a well laid out strategy. All right. So while the world may be slowing down, but India is not willing to slow down, right? Apart from that, if you look at the performance of Indian markets, and this is something that I'm deeply uncomfortable with, because you shouldn't really start talking about India's market when you're talking about India's prosperity, because not a lot many Indians are able to benefit from investing in the market over a long term to be able to make a sizable difference within their lifespans, right? I mean, yeah, some do, but okay. So Indian markets, they have given a 15% compounded annual growth rate consistently. No point comparing anyone with anybody, I feel over here, right? So yeah, that's good. Okay, but markets tend to become a little frothy, right? So we have to be very careful, as SEBI says that a huge number of investors are losing money into futures and options, especially youthful investors. So that's something that we need to be a little worried about as well. Right. Good thing about over here is that Digital India has been a massive roaring success. It was launched in 2015 and it has been an undeniable success, as unambiguous a success as unambiguous success can be. Right. So whether it is your UPIs or whether it is your ONDCs, whether it is your Jandhans or Adhars or mobile trinities, now the unified lending interface, it's absolutely top notch. It's absolutely top drawer, right? The way we responded to the COVID pandemic, at least in terms of the COVID platform, and we, not only were able to vaccinate the entire population, but do it in a very systematic and a very time-bound manner, was thanks to the kind of digital advancements that we have been able to do within the governance landscape, right? Like the way we have adopted fast tags and the way we are moving ahead of that as well, right? Your Ayushman cards, your fast tags, right? These are all fantastic enablers of India's growth story, right? Right. So if you look at the investments in startups, right? So there were hardly any startups 10, 12 years ago. Now, in the last, 7, 8 years, the number of startups, the investment in startups has gone up like crazy, right? So 15x has been an increase in the investments in startup in the interim period 2015, 2022. Right. So we have the third largest startup ecosystem. We have 151,000 recognized startups. Startup India initiative itself was launched in the year 2016, which has played an important role in creating these startups and securing 15.5 lakh direct jobs within these startups. Right. So yeah, that's significant. Artificial intelligence is not a theoretical topic anymore. Right. So Government of India has created this scheme AI for India 2.0 in 2023. We are also hosting a global AI summit in 2024. Right. So India, like we discussed in yesterday's article, where NVIDIA chief said that India should become an exporter of intelligence based on artificial intelligence rather than trying to become anything else. So yeah, the groundwork for AI is being laid, which I'm sure will be the jumping ground for the next generation or hunting ground for the next generation. Right. So, yeah, absolute top drawer developments are happening over here. When we speak about digital inclusion, when we speak about digitization, so we are having our eyes firmly fixed upon the last man in the line, the proverbial last line in the line, in the sense that the Jan Dhan Yojana has benefited thousands and lakhs of otherwise excluded, financially excluded households in our system, right? So 53 crore bank accounts have been opened, financial services have been taken to the grassroots level, right? We have been able to spread the benefits of prosperity, right? We have been able to provide insurance, pension, we have been able to provide overdraft facilities. So these banking habits that we have cultivated within our rural population, especially within the female sections of the households, is going to really benefit the coming generation to be financially included from day zero, right? So they are not going to be like, acha, this is internet, okay, this is smartphone, okay, this is bank account. No, their parents have been made to go through that transition. So the next generation that is coming into India is going to be online generation by default. It is going to be a digitized generation by default, right? So yeah, definitely that's been helpful when it comes to providing basic facilities such as housing. So it's not just about roti kapda makan, right? It's about having a proper pakka housing for which Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. So 1.18 crore houses have been sanctioned. 87 lakh plus have already been constructed and delivered so far, right? So we want to ensure that each and every Indian going ahead is living in an all-weather home, because the way climate change is expected to play truant, we want to make sure that everybody is having a pakka house, a pakka roof on top of their heads, right? So, like I mentioned to you, that there has been a level of continuity in India, which we are reaping benefits of, and by and large, the continuity is democratic, right? So, people have themselves been involved in elections at the local level, at the state level, at the national level. So, we aren't, really at the cusp of any kind of a revolution or any kind of a breakdown or any kind of an insurgency or any kind of those internal disturbances which can otherwise rock a stable government and take you 150 years behind, right? The way things happened in Syria, etc., right? So we are definitely not one of those countries, and we are definitely doing a lot of things right, right? Finally, so that's what this article is trying to give you a sense of, right? So just try to pick up some of these points and see how it can be useful in writing answers in your papers, right? Everything that I'm discussing over here is going to be, from my point of view, extremely relevant from exam point of view, right? You have to be able to pick these things up. Okay, moving ahead to the next one. Again, speaking a little bit about rural youth's march towards digital transformation, right? What are the numbers? I just want to focus very quickly upon some numbers over here, right? So there are some numbers. Let's just focus on the numbers over here, right? 95.7% of persons in this age group, they can use mobile phone, right? So that's good. 99.5% of population is covered by 4G in rural areas. Again, that's good. I don't know where these numbers are honestly coming from, because this is coming from some comprehensive annual modular survey. Right. I don't know who has done this survey, because these numbers 99%, 95%, they are looking too good to be true. To be a little honest. Right. So, let's just go with this for the time being then, right? So let's just go with this. Okay, in a rural area, 82% can now access internet. So I don't understand, right? Okay, so ठीक है मतलब 4G coverage is there, but you may or may not get the internet, right? In some areas you may get it only in some areas. That's what they're trying to say, but ठीक है, it's okay, right? Going ahead gradually, the way India is planning to bring satellite communication into the country, right? So we are not too far away from that reality where data services as well as connectivity will be ubiquitous, meaning that it will be available everywhere. So that is something which is just around the corner. Apart from that, 80% of the rural youth, they use internet in the last 3 months, leading to the survey, right? So that's again fantastic. Okay, and apart from that, uh, yeah, so these are some important numbers, just for your reference, right? And why is it that people are using these tools? What's the purpose, right? So to get a sense of that, right? Uh, they have done a lot of question answers over here, so yeah, that's fine. So persons able to do online banking, right, transactions, so that's 21%. Households possessing telephone, mobile phone, that's huge, right? Persons able to use copy and paste tools, so that's not bad. That has to increase, it will increase. Persons able of sending SMS and emails, that is a good number. Persons covered by 4G, and persons who have used. So you see that the availability of the devices is there, the availability of connectivity is there, right? We want to definitely get this number up. We want to get this number up, and we want to get this number up as well. See, in the sense that the moment we are digitizing healthcare, education, basic services, and also creating and making them available through technology, through phones, etc., we want people to be able to use it. So I think that the easier battle has been won. The easier battle was, let us say, providing the devices, or let's say providing the purchasing power to purchase the devices. Now we need to go about doing a cultural shift, a generational shift, in the sense that we need to empower people to be able to use it properly, fully, completely, and to its fullest potential. So if we can do that, then that would be really nice, right? There are a lot of government schemes which have helped this particular development come about, Okay, so there is like, for instance, technology incubation and development of entrepreneurs. There is Gen Next support for innovative startups, right? Apart from that, there is optical fiber cable that we are laying. There is a BharatNet project which is bringing connectivity, internet connectivity to rural areas. There is Universal Service Obligation Fund scheme which is bringing 4G services to remote areas. There is India BPO promotion scheme. There is a Northeast BPO promotion scheme which is encouraging the growth of ITES services in the underserved regions. There is PM Vani which is providing public Wi-Fi hotspots across the country. Right. So a lot of these steps have to be highlighted because these steps have generated the kind of momentum that was required. Right. A lot more data has been presented to you. Of course, it's not important for you to carry each and every data point into the examination, but this is the broad thrust that you have to be able to give. Right. That because of these schemes, because of the continuous push as well as the pull, because see, there is an aspirational angle over here, right? As a rural youth, I myself am really interested in these aspects. Who will not be interested in these aspects? So in that sense, the entire push and pull thing is very, very helpful. All right. Very quickly, I would like to discuss about India's ethanol push, right? Again, I would like to highlight some of the important points over here. So we are the world's third largest energy consumer, right? We do a lot of oil imports, as you are all obviously aware of, right? So there is an external reliance when you are importing oil. There is a substantial outflow of foreign exchange when you are importing oil, right? So A, we want to reduce our dependence on imported oil, and B, we want to get away from fossil fuel. Okay, that's our agenda. And ethanol can help us in doing both of these things in the sense that ethanol is a byproduct of sugarcane processing. Okay, so it's not fossil fuel. So it's not as if that I'm mining coal out of deep within Earth's heart and burning it, right? So it's not. I'm not doing that because see, sugarcane basically through photosynthesis is capturing a lot of carbon dioxide during its growth phase, and when we are burning sugarcane, let's say, then on a net basis we are releasing the same carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, right? Broadly speaking, right? Very broadly speaking, right? So so instead of burning fossil fuel, if we can burn ethanol, which is, let us say, a byproduct of sugarcane, so whatever carbon is there in ethanol is carbon which has been captured from the atmosphere. So when we are burning ethanol, which is a byproduct of sugarcane, we are not adding new carbon to the atmosphere. We are just, recycling carbon in the atmosphere in the process, also generating some energy for ourselves. So we have been mixing this ethanol with petrol that reduces our fossil fuel consumption, that reduces carbon emissions the way I just explained it to you, and it brings a lot of ancillary benefits therefore. So this entire program began as a pilot project in 2001. Progress has been slow, progress has been, stagnant in a variety of different episodes, right? Recently, Government of India launched comprehensive reforms to unlock the full potential of this idea to deserve that it fully deserves, right? So the idea over here is that we advanced target of ethanol blending, right, of 20% from 2030 to 2025. So rather than pushing the targets ahead, we pull them behind, right? So that's good over here. I mean, I may be mixing up ahead and behind over here, but you get my point, right? So that's good, and it just shows that we are committed to the idea of sustainable energy, right? So we are planning for the future by exploring goals beyond 20% ethanol blending target. So that would really help clean up our urban areas in terms of less pollution. That's very important, right? I've already explained a little bit about ethanol to you. I don't want to get into too much details, so I'm just going to skip this part over here. I just want to discuss the major achievements, right? So the indicative target of 20%, right, which was set for 2030, right, has been pulled to 2025, right? If you look at the success for the rollout of the program, right, so we have doubled the production capacity in the last 4 years. We have been producing around 1600 liters as on September 2024, and this substantial increase has happened because the government is committed right from the top, right? So that is the kind of approach that is always required to make anything successful. Okay. So if you see ethanol supply year ESY, so by ESY 2021, blending volume had increased to 302 crore liters, right? Blending percentage was around 8%. All right. So since then we have definitely increased it even further, right? So 500 crore liters have been blended in ethanol supply year 20 to 23. Blending percentage has reached 12%. Ethanol supply year 23-24 blending percentage has increased beyond 13%. 545 crore liters of ethanol have been blended. So these numbers can't be lies, right? These numbers can't be fabricated, right? I don't think that these numbers can be easily fabricated because these are actual numbers, right? Which have been captured from your pump heads and so on and so forth, right? Or whatever. Okay. So yeah, that's significant, right? So over the past decade, 1 lakh crore worth of foreign exchange has been saved, right? 544 lakh metric tons of carbon dioxide has not been emitted, right? Which would have been emitted had we burnt that much amount of fossil fuel, and 181 lakh metric tons of crude oil have been displaced with, let us say, greener ethanol or better ethanol, right? OMCs, they have definitely become buyers from sugarcane distilleries. So they have supported sugarcane distilleries by paying them 145,000 crore rupees, and a lot of farmers have therefore also benefited, sugarcane farmers, right? So this is the kind of impact that we have been able to create. If you will get a standalone question, you may get a standalone question on this, and you cannot answer that question well without these numbers. I'm sure you cannot take down every possible number, but try to round off these numbers to something that you can remember easily. And please try to take these numbers in the examination. It's my request to you, right? So if you want to achieve the target of 20% ethanol blending by 2025, we need to blend about 1000 crore liters of ethanol, right? Now the total ethanol demand in the country, apart from blending with petrol for other uses as well, so total demand is 1350 crore liters, right? For which we need at least 1700 crore liters worth of capacities by 2025, right? Assuming that plants are operating at 80% efficiency, right? So there is definitely going to be an increase in demand for ethanol, right? And therefore the government is clearly indicating that whoever is increasing the capacity stands to benefit by capturing a larger part of the market, a larger part of the demand, right? So a lot of initiatives have already been put into place, like for example, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana, right? So this is basically for the entire biofuel sector, right? Apart from that, there is a detailed roadmap for ethanol blending that we just discussed. Apart from that, we want to expand the feedstock used for ethanol production, because it's not just sugarcane. You can also use wheat straw, rice husk, algae. So there is first generation ethanol, second generational ethanol, third generational ethanol. So there are a variety of feedstocks that can be used. So we want to explore all of that as well, right? We have been providing a favorable procurement price for ethanol. That's good, that's helpful. The GST on ethanol has been reduced to 5% to make it more attractive for producers and consumers alike. We have made changes to the Industries Development and Regulation Act so that we can facilitate free movement of ethanol across state, which was otherwise restricted, because this can be used for making alcohol for human consumption in a variety of different ways, right? We have been providing an interest subvention scheme, right? In the form, we are basically providing interest subsidies so that we can enhance production capacities across the country. And your public OMCs, oil marketing companies, they are actively floating expression of interest for the procurement of ethanol. So the buyer is firmly in place, and the buyer has to buy more and more, more and more, more and more, because the targets are only going to go upwards. It's not going to come down, right? So if you are knowing the kind of data point that I just mentioned, if you are knowing the kind of uh, steps that have been taken by government of India, and if you are knowing what the targets are, right, then I don't think that you need anything else to be able to answer the question, standalone question based on ethanol, right? So that should be very helpful. I'm inclined to not discuss this article in too much detail, not because it's not important, but because it has been discussed so many times already. So Nobel laureate Paul Romer, as I mentioned to you correctly earlier, he won the 2018 economics prize. He praised India's Adar system, that it's a very significant technological innovation globally, right? So it is bringing government benefits directly to my bank account, right? And government is suddenly having access to millions and millions of people across the varied landscape of India, right? And other nations are also inspired to go down this particular road, because it is extremely transformative, it is extremely empowering in the way welfare delivery happens, in the way fraud can be eliminated, in the way empowerment can be achieved, in the way identity can be identified, verified, and then help can be provided, welfare can be provided, right? So this is something which is extremely strong that we have done and developed, right? So as you know, that's a 12-digit unique identification number. The project started in 2009, right? So that every resident can have a reliable, digitally verifiable identity, right? Using the minimum possible demographic and biometric data, meaning that we don't want to really intrude in your privacy, right? We respect your right to privacy, but at the same time, just to be able to identify you a little bit, right? So it's absolutely strong, right? Some numbers which will be very very handy. 2,200 social welfare schemes are using Aadhaar. 270 good governance schemes leverage Aadhaar to bring efficiency in governance, promote ease of living for Aadhaar holders, right? 500 entities in the financial and telecom sectors are also notified to use Aadhaar for providing user services. Large number of private and public services providers employ offline verification for rendering services to individuals, right? So, I mean, I just want to leave this point over here. You have gotten the idea, right? Apart from that, 765 million residents have been linked Aadhaar with ration cards to avail their PDS benefit. 284 million residents linked Aadhaar with cooking gas connection for LPG subsidy through PAHAL. 100% of farmer beneficiaries under PM Kisan Yojana, right? So you get my point, right? You get my point, right? So in terms of direct benefit transfer, crazy amount of money is getting spent, right? A lot of money is being spent for Manrega, for PDS, for fertilizer, and so on and so forth, right? So these are all the benefits, these are all the steps that have been taken. It's an extremely detailed document that I would like to submit for your consideration, that how Aadhaar has helped a variety of these ministries. You don't need to remember everything, but you need to remember enough, you need to note down enough so that you are able to get your points across in a in a database format. That is what is important. Okay. So yeah, coming to the last article, which is empowering India's space economy. So Modi ji has approved the establishment of 1,000 crore venture capital fund dedicated to supporting India's space sector, right? So this will be happening under the aegis of InSpace, which is Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. So whether it is startups, whether it is the economy, whether it is becoming a global leader in space technology, right? So this fund is going to play a very important role in every regard, right? So it is aligning our strategic mission. It is putting money where our mouth is, right? So this kind of a goal is quite exemplary, right? So so that's the idea over here. We want to address unique needs of our companies. That's what we want to do. So whether it is capital infusion, whether it is talent retention, whether it is expansion of the space economy, whether it is technological advancement, boosting competitiveness, supporting Atmanirbhar Bharat, creating a vibrant ecosystem, driving economic growth and job creation. All of these things is what we are aiming to achieve over here, right? So that's what the idea is, that annual investment of 150 to 250 crores will be supported via this fund. So this fund should last for the next 4 or 5 years, right? That's what the estimates are looking like, right? So by 29-30 we wish to exhaust this fund, right? Each individual investment in the growth stage will be in the region of 10 to 30 crores. It's not a small amount of money. If you have proven yourself, if you have proven your business model, you are doing well for yourself, then you will get a further amount of 30 to 60 crore for, let us say, the later growth stage, right? There will be significant job creation directly as well as indirectly, right? And InSpace, which is your Indian National Space Promotion Authorization Center, which itself was established in 2020 as a part of the comprehensive space sector reforms, will be playing an instrumental role over here in, let us say, initiating the next generation of reforms. The idea being that we want to enhance space technology, increase private participation, as well as increase India's share in the emerging global space economy. You don't want to be lagging behind at all over here, right? This particular article over here is discussing our current position in the global space economy leadership board, right? So our economy size, space economy size is 8.4 billion, which is 2% share. We want to really increase this, right? We want to go to 44 billion right? We want to have 11 billion in exports, 7 to 8% of the global share minimum, right? We want to have 250 startups, right? Which are there in the pipeline. We want to have a lot more of them. We want to have stronger startups, right? That's what we want to achieve. We want to do a lot of collaboration with other countries and make sure that we are accelerating as fast as we can in this direction. So yeah, this is my document done. I have given a lot of content which you will have to use very strategically in your answers. I hope you will use them in your answers. With this, we'll bring this session to an end. Thank you so much. All the best. See you tomorrow. See you on Monday. Jai Hind.